covered with Sean a little bit later. And so we've got a lot coming up, but I mentioned this earlier. Before we get to Three for Madness, we played the highlights in the last segment of really a great comeback and a great win last night. But one of my favorite things after the Kings win, is, especially at home, because I get to sit next to G-Man and hear him do these interviews, but he had a chance to talk to Malik Monk. And Malik was having a good night, I thought, but didn't play a ton, and then was an incredible closer in fourth quarter and overtime. But I love when those two guys get together. They just have a special chemistry. So here's the post-game conversation after the win. And by the way, in the background, you'll hear the countdown for the Light the Beam, which Keegan Murray was the one that lit the beam in the arena. But here's G-Man with Malik Monk.
You hear the fans responding to Scott Moak and the Keegan Murray. Still get ready to light the beam. Malik's now on a headset. Monkster, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, G-Man, I can hear you.
Man, I tell you what, when you're down a dozen early fourth quarter against a team that you're seeing for the third time in 16, what are you thinking? Where do you position yourself?
They seen us at our worst, man. So they haven't seen us at our best. So once we come out and play hard, I think we can compete with anybody, and that's what we did tonight.
You end up outscoring them 16-11 in that 5-minute overtime session. I think it ended up being 4 steals, numerous huge rebounds. The energy and the effort just seemed to be off the charts.
Yes, sir. G-Man, I feel like every time we get down, we know we got to scramble. So I think we got to stop getting down and play like that from the beginning. But every time we know we down, we just come out and fight even more.
I want to ask you about that diving save that you made at the other end of the floor from where you're positioned. You were head first after that, and you somehow steered it to a teammate before you touched the floor. How in the world did you pull that off?
Yeah, Jimmy, I just wanted it more, man. I felt like we needed this. The crowd was in it. The home crowd was in it. I feel like we owed them one here. We give a lot away. We gave a lot away early, so that was just for the fans, man, and me wanting it more.
My colleague Jason here, as the beam is now lit and Kings fans rejoice. Jason sliding me a note about the fact that after 3 quarters, you had taken 5 shots, you had scored just 7 points. You end the night with 22. How'd you do that?
DC let me play through my mistakes a little bit more, and I just kept with it. They kept telling me to shoot the ball, and when I'm aggressive, I feel like that's when the team is in a better place. So they just stayed on me, and yeah, I was just able to make some plays, man.
Boy, we sure loved it. It was a most entertaining conclusion to this one, getting the first lead in overtime and then finding a way to get it done. Malik, thank you as always for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, G-Man.
All right.
I just love hearing those two together. That's great. And that effort, again, I saw a lot of pictures on social media afterwards of the full layout, sprawling Malik Monk. I mean, it almost looks like a football play. Like, imagine him carrying the football with one hand down, not any part of his body, not any other part, and stretching the ball out to go across the goal line. In this case, his hand is down, inbounds. The ball in the picture from the baseline is more than an arm's length out of bounds, and he somehow not only gets the ball, he saves it, keeps it in play, and was truly one of the great effort plays I've seen in a long, long time, and the result out of it was phenomenal. Just incredible. And Malik said it there, I just wanted it more. Well, I know it's not always the case. They haven't always looked like that, but I think we have said this I don't know how many times and for how many years, and it's probably not exclusive to this fan base, but this is the fan base I'm talking to, and I know how you guys feel. If you can continue to put effort like that, I think fans will live with the results. And there were times when, you're losing by 41 to Memphis, you're feeling like, yeah, they're not playing well, but is the effort there? Do they care? What's going on here? Well, last night, it sure looked like they cared. It sure looked like they wanted to win. It sure looked like they wanted to feel proud of themselves, have the fans show them love, and they got all of that. They got all of the reward of all of their hard effort, and I'm glad they got the ultimate reward, which was a victory. And that was really, really nice to see. And so that's 2 in a row. They deserved it. That's a great comeback and a lot to be proud of. All right, let's go ahead and do it. It's time to go for 3 for Madness. 3 questions, 3 answers. So, Chris, let's fire away. It's 3 for Madness time.
3 questions, 3 answers. It's 3 for Madness on the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
Here's question 1.
All right, Chris, what you got in question 1?
What was the most interesting part of the game last night?
Well, it's hard to pick one thing because everything about it was interesting to me. But I was waiting to play this, and this is something I was hinting at earlier. So it wasn't maybe Monk's diving play. It wasn't the clutch play of DeRozan or Keegan Murray. It was really, to me, the most interesting thing. And I want you guys to hear this post-game from DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar, how much does having Keegan back kind of change the dynamic of your guys' game on offense?
It's everything. It's everything. Keegan is key to this team. It's his team. He's one of those guys that's going to be very, very special in this league, and he's showing it. With his dynamic play on both ends. He changes the game. When his confidence is high, the things he's able to do makes it a lot easier on us. So, it's pretty obvious.
I thought that was an insightful and intriguing answer. This is a veteran group that has a Hall of Famer in Russell Westbrook, a Hall of Famer in DeMar DeRozan, an all-star in Zach LaVine, all-star in Domantas Sabonis. Their careers still have some more meat on it where they're going to ultimately take their careers. And going back to media day, this is something where Dave and I had a chance to talk to Keegan Murray. And we actually posed the question to Keegan that he's never been in the position to kind of be the number one or really number two, sometimes not even the number three option. Did he think he could be that? And he said yes, in a classic, typical Keegan type of way. And last night, to me, felt like a game where the Kings were relying on him. He's been an important piece to the team before. That's not what I'm saying. He's had moments where he's been the best player in a game, and the best player on a night or in stretches, or had the 47-point game against the Jazz. But it was Fox. It was Sabonis. It could be Monk. It could be other people that Harrison Barnes, Herter, just he was on the team, an important part of the team. Really, last year was asked to do so much defensively. Now he's still asked to do so much defensively, and this just being his third game back, second as a starter, which they've won both, by the way, has been asked to do a lot more and carry a lot more of the offensive burden. And so far, it sure looks like he can do that. And he's building confidence. He's building confidence in himself, his confidence in his teammates. And for them to say that, or for DeMar to say that about him, I thought was really revealing, to say this is his team. And he followed up with this about Keegan Murray.
There's no limits on Keegan. None. And he shouldn't think there's any limits. To him, it's just, it's everything. The way he's able to score, get downhill, shoot the ball, defensively, the things he's able to do, continue to grow on that. He's young, he's special, so that's what I mean by that. Just him knowing there's nothing he can't do on that court.
These are powerful statements. I think a couple games ago when maybe it was Denver game, sorry, they're blending together, but the Kings won, and Malik Monk was a post-game guest and was asked what Keegan means, and his first word was the same thing that DeMar said, everything. Keegan means everything. This roster still imbalanced. It still has its discrepancies for size and just different things, but Keegan lengthens it out a bit and helps so much defensively. But certainly I don't want to diminish his offense, and I think they're asking for more of him. He made timely threes. He was aggressive. He was getting to the basket. He looked to shoot. And if he's starting to develop that to me is encouraging. That's a role. They put him in the summer league maybe 2 years ago, if you guys remember that. But, okay, it's like, hey, you can't take too many shots. Keegan, go shoot the ball 35 times. He played in the California Classic and, I think did that for a couple games, and then they shut him down. But this is the real time now, and this is against other veterans and other pros and the other teams that are going to scheme and try to slow him down. He's still in that window where I think when, opposing teams come in, they're going to scheme against Sabonis when healthy. They're going to scheme against DeRozan and LaVine. They're going to start switching their MO and really start trying to slow down Keegan, so he's going to have to get to that counterpoint. But the fact that when you look at what Scott Perry, what I believe is his vision, what he's kind of shared, what we heard from Sam Amick's article, that I still believe they want to move on from some of these veterans. One of his first moves was to extend Keegan Murray. Doesn't mean they can't trade Keegan, but it's letting you believe that Keegan is a foundation piece of what they're doing going forward. And the fact that he's doing what he's doing right now, still very early in his return, starts to build some confidence in that long-term winning sustainability that Scott Perry and even Monty McNair talked about before. So, to me, of all the great things that happened, the relentless, never-ending effort was important. The crowd was awesome. The comeback was great. The question was, what was the most interesting part of the game last night? That was it. DeMar DeRozan saying, this is Keegan Murray's team. The keys have been passed. Whether it was ever, who was holding it in the between time? Was it Sabonis? I don't know. It was kind of Fox's team. But I like the outlook of that, especially while Sabonis is out, and he's going to be a little while. We don't know what trades will be made. But potentially building around him doesn't mean he has to be the best player going forward, but what he's doing is what I believe Coach Christie and Scott Perry want. As many two-way players as they can find, effort, energy, hustle, versatile. Keegan's doing a lot of those things, and I thought that was very, very interesting. All right, let's get to question number 2.
Question 2.
DeMar DeRozan made more history last night, moving past Alex English for the 24th all-time in scoring. By the end of the year, where will Debo and Russ end up?
Yeah, they keep moving up the ladder not each and every game, but they keep passing people along their journey and their amazing Hall of Fame career. Let's hear a little bit from DeRozan on that feat of passing Alex English.
I mean, just being within that, it really don't hit me until like later on where, you realize, it's only so many people ahead of you when it comes to scoring. But, passing Alex English, it's special to me because he was my mentor my rookie year. He taught me a lot. I used to sit there and listen to him talk about his ability to score, and I learned so much from him. So to be able to be sitting here and be able to pass somebody that, mentored me at 19 years old, is definitely a cool thing.
Yeah, so DeMar moving to 24th, passing Alex English. He's now about 16 clear of him. He's now chasing Vince Carter. He's within 99 points of Vince Carter, so that's a number he's going to knock down here in a few games. The one directly above that is Steph Curry. Well, he's going up the ladder as well. But if all goes well this season for DeMar DeRozan, whether he's a King or if he's the guys they ultimately trade, he's going to get the likes of Vince Carter. He's going to get likely Kevin Garnett, I think John Havlicek, and then probably Paul Pierce this year. There's a shot at Tim Duncan as well. In between, as I mentioned, Steph Curry, who's active, and Russell Westbrook, who's active. As far as Russell, he's currently 18th. He's right now, 44 points behind Tim Duncan. So Russ is going to move to 17 here shortly. Right after that, he'll get to Dominique Wilkins. He will likely get to Oscar Robertson and probably Akeem Olajuwon this season. By the end of the year, Russ could be in about 14th place all-time in scoring. So to watch what these guys have done in their bulk of their careers on other teams, but now watching them do that here in Sacramento is kind of a fun just journey, part of their journey to watch. And by the way, on the other part of Westbrook, he's one of the 8 players that have gone over 1,000 career assists. He's going to get Magic Johnson this season. I don't think he'll quite catch Mark Jackson for 6th, but golly, if you just start thinking about some of the names these guys are passing every other week here, that's truly impressive. So it's fun to see them do this on their way, on their journey. But pretty significant mark. And that was cool what DeMar had to say about what Alex English meant to him and having some historical perspective on some of the greats of the game. All right, let's get to question number 3.
The
NBA season is 1 month old. What has stood out to you the most so far?
Well, there's a couple things that are standing out. I mean, we always generally lean towards the positives and the good surprises. I wouldn't say I'm surprised at the Thunder, but 17-1 I think is staggering. So that's one thing to watch going forward. Are the Thunder going to, get into that Chicago Bulls, Golden State Warriors record-setting pace, which they're there now? Are they going to maintain that? I think the other thing of note, at least in the Western Conference to me, I think there's been a general blanket statement for the better part of a decade about the West. It's a juggernaut. It's so impossible. This conference is so good from top to bottom. I would push back on that this year. As of now, 18 to 20 games in, it's not. It's very top heavy. If you look at the standings, you've got, I'm going to work from 8 up. So the top 8. These are the teams that are above 500. Warriors now above 500 at 10-9. Minnesota's 10-7. Phoenix 11-7. Spurs 11-5. Now you're starting to get to the really elite records. Rockets 11-4. Lakers 12-4. Nuggets 13-4. And the Thunder 17-1. But behind all that, everybody's below 500. Blazers 8-10. Grizzlies 6-12. Jazz 5-12. Clippers 5-12. Kings 5-13. Dallas 5-14, New Orleans 3-15. It is not that great of a Western Conference. Again, the elite is awesome. That's a top shelf. It's a tier. I really feel like the tier is Oklahoma City and then the next group, but that next group is really good. And then it's just a mishmash of teams at the bottom that are either injured, underperforming, both, bad, whatever it might be. And so I was thinking about this last night, and as part of that surprise, well, let me get back to that in a moment because I want to give a couple more surprises and what stood out to me. Certainly the top of the East, because I think teams like 8, 9, and 10, or 8, 10, and 11, I should say, I thought would be competing for the top of the West, even with injuries. But Orlando at 10-8, Boston, I know Tatum's out, but 9-8. Milwaukee lost their 5th in a row. They're 8-10. They would be outside of the play-in right now. But I go to the top. Here's Miami at 12-6. That part's not necessarily that surprising. What's surprising me is that they are leading the league in scoring. This was a team that used to just choke you out in the games that would get like 90 points years ago. And now here they are, the highest scoring team in the league, and they've gone above 140 many times. They're in 3rd. Toronto, winners of 8 in a row. They're 13-5. And Detroit tied their franchise record last night with 13 consecutive wins. They're now 15-2. So that part has stood out to me as a surprise. So let me get back to the weird spot that I think the Sacramento Kings can find themselves in. So to kind of clean things up and to tie it all back together about what we were talking about the Kings, because there's people split on our chats and on a YouTube and on our text line that one are thrilled for the win and excited and can compartmentalize that on its own. And others are thinking, oh, man, too many wins. This is hurting they want the worst lottery pick. They want the better lottery pick, I should say. Well, first off, I'd say it's just 2 wins. They're also 5-13. They got a long way to go. They're still very much at the bottom. But my point here being is I think there's some weird scenario that could still happen for this Sacramento Kings team. And what I want to lay out here is at 5-13, I think this Kings team still sees that vision of needing to trade some of their players. I think that's I'm not fooled by what they've done the last couple of days. I'm thrilled by it, but I'm still taking parts of what I still think that team could be inside potential future trades. So if they moved off, I'm just going to use, to me, the 3 most intriguing players that they could possibly trade, and some are going to be more difficult than others, but if we're talking about Sabonis, Levine, DeRozan, those are 3 of the veterans that I think could fetch something for them that fits into what they're trying to do, is kind of restructure the roster, get a little more balance, get a little more financial freedom, get a little younger, and try to build some assets and future picks. I think those guys are all capable of doing that. And if, let's just say, in some world where somehow, some way they dealt all 3, I'm making all of this up for this point. Initially, you're thinking, well, one, they're probably getting lesser players in return, or maybe future assets that aren't helping present day. Yes, that's probably relatively some of the targets they want to try to hit. But I wouldn't be entirely surprised if they were able to do something like that. And in return, got a few players that could, help in the short term. It unblocks some of the guys that aren't getting to play as much. Maybe more things are now emphasized, like I talked about earlier, about this seemingly now might be Keegan's team. What does that look like? What does he look like as option 1 or 2 offensively? Certainly option number 1 defensively. More in a leadership role, more of like this is the guy's DNA that's on the team, mixed in still with a guy like Russ and Monk and Achua, who's been a fine pickup, and just some of the other guys that are still here, opening up some more Reynaud and Clifford minutes. Along the lines, could they possibly still, because of the awfulness of the bottom part of the West, by product, sneak back into the mix? Not in a way that has typically been done by this organization, going, hey, we need one more veteran, one more move here to elevate them. This wouldn't be the case in my mind. This would be making the pragmatic and smart, decisive moves that help the team long-term, but in a weird way, short-term, might still find themselves in a mix because the bottom of the West is that bad. Again, still could be a lottery team, still could win the lottery, still could make your trades, still could be doing all the growth. But it's kind of a weird spot they could find themselves in strictly because the Western Conference has been that bad. So I don't want to confuse the last 2 games that they figured this all out, but I think some things are starting to develop along the way. In that most telling thing that we just played of DeMar DeRozan saying, Keegan means everything. This is Keegan's team, was a powerful, powerful statement to me. So we're going to talk more about that when we come back. More about this game, more post-game reaction. A reminder coming up at 7:45. We're going to get Kings Rewind. That's coming your way. So we got a lot more to get into. Really a thrilling night of basketball, an impressive night. If you want to get in, you can call in too at 916-339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. We're back with more here on Sactown Sports.
Download the Sactown Sports app.
Sacramento sports in your pocket. This is Sactown Sports 1140.